Hogstye.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogstye. I'm oddly cheery for the fact that we lost the game to the Ravens, but it's me, it's Alex. We got Steve, we have Dave. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I'm gonna tell you, before the show, I was, doing our pre-show prep, looking for articles. I did come across one little "Who's the next NFL head coach on the hot seat" article on Yahoo. Every NFC East coach
Mike
is listed
McCarthy.
there, except for one. All of Mike
Dan
McCarthy's
Quinn,
there.
obviously.
Yeah,
Right.
Stable, Nick, Nikki, I'm gonna bring my kids to the press conference so no one asks me a hard question. All those guys.
I think if you're a Dallas Cowboys coach, you're always on the hot seat pretty much because Jerry
Right.
Jones is so out there.
Did you hear about the thing with him like going on the radio and yelling at the radio host?
I did not.
So apparently
That was in my column, actually.
Oh, you're talking about that? Oh,
yeah.
I read it in Dave's column. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Why would you ever want Jerry Jones? All right, I guess I know why you'd want him on your station. It's guaranteed rating.
Yes, of course you want him on your right. And he says outrageous things sometimes too.
But it's just putting yourself in the crosshairs every time. I'd imagine that man's about as stable as Dan Snyder was.
No, well, the radio people, we're fake radio people. I would always want somebody saying something weird and controversial. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right.
I guess so.
It's boring just to go up there and launch into a bunch of platitudes.
Right. But that's what Jerry wanted, I guess is the point. He wanted the platitudes.
But I will say though, this is a different aura around this whole situation because it's not only just the fans, but a lot of the sports media there, the podcast, the radio hosts, they're giving a lot of pushback to Jerry Jones, a lot more than normal. He's been getting very, very frustrated with it. It's interesting. I'm going to watch how all this all unfolds down there. But
the truth of the matter is Jerry Jones, the owner, should have fired Jerry Jones, the GM, a long time ago. And that's part of the reason why they just don't succeed.
Yeah. At this point, Jerry Jones, the owner, should be living on his super yacht in the middle of, the Caribbean or wherever.
He's got a son that's been involved in the business forever.
Yeah.
For 20 years.
Right. And we know he's more well regarded in a lot of the business aspects and,
Yeah, I think Jerry Jones at the end of the day is kind of a Texas meathead a little bit.
Yeah. Little bit of a woohoo cowboy. He was an oil man. Yeah. All that stuff. Yeah.
But his fundamental flaw is that he thinks he knows football. He thinks because he played college football that he can operate as an NFL GM. And I get it. You own a football team. You want to be involved.
They were successful early on.
I think
the Tiny Terror, it was the same way, but he didn't play football. But they want to be involved, and they're either too egotistical or not smart enough to know that they're not good enough to do it.
I think Jerry Jones is a living embodiment of every armchair GM fan that's out there. They think they know everything, make this move, make that move, and you put them in that position. Guess what the result is? Jerry Jones right there.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, absolutely.
And it doesn't help. He played football in the 1950s. It was a very different game.
It might not have been quite that long ago, but a long time ago, yes.
I think it was.
No.
How old is Jerry Jones? He's in his 80s, right?
Okay, but if he's 80, that means he was born in 1944.
Okay, so he was playing in the 60s and 70s.
He started early, yeah. So he probably played realistically in the 60s.
Okay. When the flea flicker, like what we saw was the best gadget play ever invented.
The flea flicker was a guy flicking a flea off of his dog.
The Statue of Liberty play was an actual play, and people knew what it was.
Yeah, there you go.
But by the way, what is the last time anyone ran the Statue of Liberty play?
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody run it live in person. I don't know if I've ever
some of your smaller college schools still do it. You see it pop up every now and then. But I'm talking like your lower division level core schools like that.
Right.
You like your Alabamas of the world would never do it. But
no. All right. So Kingsbury, let's put it in this week. You know, let's see that versus Carolina, because why not? You know, we're gonna, pull out all the stops with this offense. Why? Let's have some fun here. All right, I guess we should talk about the Ravens game first. Like, do we want to rip the Band-Aid off of the loss and
rip the Band-Aid off the loss? Absolutely.
All right. Yep. Steve, give us the raw data.
I will
yes.
here, and of course I got to open it because we were talking so much I forgot to open it. But
all right, let's vamp. Dave, what do you think of what do you think?
You're not
chances?
vamping very well at all,
I'm
Alex.
not.
You should have just Jesus. Have you not learned anything in a decade of doing this?
No,
you can vamp
I really
in a
haven't.
much better way.
I've
learned
I've actually forgotten more than
There's
I've learned.
one thing I can do. It's babble nonsensically for a couple seconds.
You're paid by the minute. I'm not.
That's true.
I'm paid to sit. I'm paid to sit quietly in a back room listening to hundreds of other people babble.
I'm literally paid by the minute to babble. That is true. All right. So here's the stats. Jayden Daniels was 24 for 35, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating of 110. The leading rusher on the day was also Jayden Daniels, 6 for 22 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, long and 9. Austin Ekeler, 9 for 21. Jeremy McNichols, 2 for 9. Terry McLaurin was 1 for 0 yards. Zach Ertz is the leading receiver, 4 for 68. Noah Brown was 4 for 58. Terry McLaurin, 6 for 53, and 2 touchdowns. Austin Ekeler, 4 for 47. Olamide Zaccheaus, 4 for 27. De'Ami Brown, 1 for 11, and Luke McCaffrey, 1 for 5. And on defense, Bobby Wagner was the leading tackler, 12 total tackles, including 6 solo. Jeremy Chin had 8 total tackles with 7 solo. There were 2 sacks that were both Dante Fowler, and 1 interception was Mike Sandersill. Tress Way was 3 punts, 127 yards, average of 42.3 yards per punt. On the Ravens side, Lamar Jackson was 20 for 26, 323 yards, 1 touch and 1 interception, quarterback rating of 114.7. Derrick Henry was 24 for 132, 5.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson was 11 for 40. Zay Flowers was the leading receiver, 9 for 132, which incidentally all came in the first half.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman was 4 for 71. Mark Andrews 3 for 66, and it goes down from there. And that's stats. And the only other thing I'd like to point out before I shut up here is Derrick Henry. So at halftime, Derrick Henry was just 9 carries for 38 yards. So most of the 90, what is that? 96 of those yards.
Right.
90.
Second half.
Yeah. Not 96. Yeah, 96.
I mean, look, the Ravens came out throwing in the first half, obviously, to try and get that lead. And I mean, it's traditional football strategy, right? Throw in the first half, get a lead, run in the second half to control the clock. You know, that that is a time-tested formula that the Ravens executed. And, you know, congratulations, defense. You got the first interception. That was your only real good drive-stopping thing you did all game long, it felt like. Our defense could not stop the Ravens.
Did anybody think they would?
I mean, I didn't. Not really. No. This game played out, I think, exactly how we all expected it to play out.
It did pretty much exactly.
Yeah, we all said it was going to be high scoring. We all thought Washington was going to lose.
Well, here's what they did right. I think they did keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket more or less.
Right. 11
and Tony Romo kept talking about what to do. And he was mostly talking about the Ravens doing it to Daniels. But Tony Romo was talking about how you don't want the blitzing defensive ends to get behind the quarterback, which opens up running lanes. And for the most part, they didn't do that. And that's why Lamar didn't have a ton of running yards. The other reason, of course, he didn't have to. They had a lead. He had Derrick Henry rolling. Didn't have to do that. But still. So I think that was maybe the only thing the defense did well. I don't really know what happened to Zay Flowers in the second half. He just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was a defensive scheme thing or if that really was just they didn't feel like they needed to throw it a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I'm gonna guess more towards the latter, honestly, but I'm not 100% sure.
It also didn't seem like the Ravens were doing too much trying to push the ball downfield in that second half anymore.
Why would they?
Yeah,
exactly. So I think that it's just I don't think it was even. I think Zay Flowers was there and available if he needed to, because he was open most of the game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they just were concentrating on just keeping short chunk yards in the passing game and just keep the ball moving to chew up the clock just to keep Jaden Daniels and the offense off the field.
Right. Look, when you have a lead in the second half, you don't want the one play drive. You want 8, 10, 12,
Right.
14 plays, right? Like,
Yep.
There's nothing. I think if you ran 15 plays and kicked a field goal, your coach is really, really happy with that when you got a lead in the fourth quarter.
Well, okay, so Derrick Henry finished with 24 carries.
Right.
Yes.
And so if you march on over to the halftime stats
Mm-hmm.
here, which I'm doing. Oh, here it is. He only had 9 carries at halftime.
Mm.
So he had 15 carries
In the second half.
in the second half.
Yeah.
What did we learn? I think overall, from an offensive standpoint, in my view, I think, yes, Washington lost, but I think they looked like they belonged. They didn't look like they were just totally outclassed by a Super Bowl contender, and they shouldn't. We've seen countless games, like that with Washington. They just, even if the score is closer, they just don't look like they're should be on the field at all. The game didn't have that kind of feel to me.
Right.
And so from that respect, it was, if you can take a positive out of a loss, it was, I think that they, at least offensively, they kind of looked like they deserved to be there, and that was good. Running wise, they were horrible. We knew they were going to be horrible. The Ravens had the best, or one of the best, run defenses in the league.
There is a fair question. Was it that they wanted to move away from the run because of the knowing what the Ravens are defensively, or was it the lack of Brian Robinson, who, even if he doesn't put up big yardage, they give him the ball 10, 15 times just to wear down a defense? You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd say yes to all of that.
Yeah, it's chicken or the egg,
a combination of everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think Brian Robinson's any great shakes necessarily, but he is the inside presence.
Right. Like I said, if you run him 15 times and he gets 40 yards, I know it's not a great day statistically, but you're also wearing down the defense. That's the whole point. Right. Yeah.
Except if you're the Ravens,
Yes.
I mean,
yeah. Look, they're just a better team. Baltimore is in year 7 of building around a great franchise quarterback. They are way down that road. Washington's in year 1 of this project. The same project, very much so, if you want to think of it that way.
I think Jaden Daniels is more of, neither one of them fit the mold of classic drop back passer perfectly, but I think Jaden Daniels is actually more of a traditional NFL drop back passer than Lamar ever was. Lamar can throw, and you could kind of see it even in college, but he was much more non-traditional in the way he plays. It just kind of works for him because the Ravens are smart enough to build around that and kind of play into it, whereas other teams are dumb. Like Washington's been dumb about quarterbacks, as we all know, forever.
Right.
And Jaden Daniels, I think, is the hidden truth about Jaden for the people who don't watch him is that he always was a pocket quarterback who could run.
Right.
Yes.
Even at LSU.
Go ahead, Dave.
And the one thing that I picked up the most on this is that this offensive line, I'm still not impressed with. People need to stop.
Numbers you put in your column.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I will. But as far as what PFF puts out there, as we always continue to talk about, is very, very subjective. And we saw that in this game. In fact, going into this game, the time in pocket average that they had was sitting at 2.2 seconds per snap to drop back. After this game, they dropped down to 1.7 or 1.9. I think 1.9 that they had that they dropped down to
really
that.
low, by the way.
Yes. And a lot of people want to attribute that to, well, it's the way that Jaden Daniels plays and he runs and he scrambles, or Cliff Kingsbury calling the quick passing game and stuff like that. Well, I go to the adverse on that. Cliff Kingsbury calls a quicker passing game because of the lack of time that you have in the pocket that Jaden Daniels has. Jaden Daniels has scrambled after this game 34 times this year, which were scrambles off of design pass plays, where the next closest after that was Cleveland at 21 times. Mm-hmm. So, but yet with the time of pocket rate that they have at 1.9, which is extremely low, the pressure rate, which is the rate at which the pressure actually gets to the quarterback, is one of the lowest in the league at only 14%. So even though they get and close the pocket quick, between the scheme of the offense and Jayden Daniels feeling the pocket and his mobility, they're able to get him out of harm's way and get the pass off or run off, whatever it is, to get out of the pocket. This offensive line, outside of Biadasz, who I think is a future center for this team, I think Sam Cosmi is a nice right guard. I think he's really molded into a nice player. You know, Allegretti on the other side, he's hit or miss in every game. I mean, we don't know. Brandon Coleman, he's still molding into whatever he's going to be. I think ultimately he's still going to be a right tackle in this league as opposed to a left, but he's not terrible. He's doing a little bit better.
Well, overall, I mean,
right.
He's outplaying where he was drafted. I'd argue.
But see,
well,
the only
I don't know
thing
about
is
that.
Well, the only thing with Coleman is that when he goes against the higher end elite rushers that are more athletic, where Trent Williams on his own could handle that, he can't handle that.
No,
he struggles with that. He's got to get the chips and everything. And if your left tackle can't handle that, I'm not really sure he's cut out to be your franchise left tackle. And then you have Wiley, who's just a constant drive killer with his false starts and everything
Pro
else.
Bowler Andrew Wiley. So 1.9 seconds in the pocket is ranked what?
That is ranked. That's tied for 20. I think I put down 27th.
27th. Okay, so
27th in league.
Washington's sack percentage. So sack percentage is the percentage of time sacked when attempting a pass. Okay, meaning the time. This is the offensive sack rating. So their offensive sack rating is 8.2%, which is ranked 22nd, and so they are higher. They have a higher, meaning better ranking in sack percentage than they do time in pocket.
Right.
And that tells you that supports what Dave is saying, which is that there's a ton of pressure because he's not getting any time in pocket, but he's so mobile that he is saving himself, which is what we're seeing on film. And so I think
8.2 actually sounds higher to me than I would have expected, though. I feel like Jayden Daniels doesn't take a lot of sacks.
Well, remember that's percentage, okay?
Yeah, I know.
I see. It's an interesting point you do bring up, Steve, because I kind of loosely mentioned that too as well. Because last year, the sack percentage was 9.27. The time in pocket rate was 2.4 last year. So it was actually a little bit better last year, and yet we had 60 plus sacks against Sam Howell. That's why I say, and also we also had an offense that ran more intermediate to longer developing plays downfield.
There were a lot of pass, and they never ran the ball either.
Correct. They were like
a pass backs.
Yeah, I think they were like a 63% rate for a pass offense.
It was the highest in the NFL, so there were much more
far.
opportunities to,
Yes. So, I mean, and even in their 50-50 split this year, I think some of the sacks that Dan was able to avoid, whether mobility or feel in the pocket to move up in the pocket or whatever, get out of the way, Sam Howell would have had those sacks in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
And he would have taken bad sacks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's for sure. So that sack percentage you found, because it was puzzling me. I think I know why it's puzzling me. It's off the Pro Football Reference, right?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure, and I might be crazy here, I'm pretty sure they aren't counting scrambles in that number. Would be my guess, because that would make sense then.
This is just sack percentage. It's not pressure percentage. This is just the percentage of time. Now, a scramble does not count as a sack if he scrambles out of the pocket.
Right, but it would also not count as a pass attempt then, is my guess.
Correct.
So that's probably how they're getting the number that they're getting. Because, you add in Daniels, what is it, 40-something scrambles that he's already had, probably more.
Right.
Because that plays into it.
Because when you look at the pressure percentage, that includes not just the sacks, but also hurried throws and quarterback hits as well at the same time.
Sure.
So that accounts for all of that.
Yeah, I know pressure percentage is a big one for people now. People get obsessed with pressure percentages.
And Daniels has where is he rushing here? He has 63 rushing attempts, and some of those are design runs and stuff.
Right.
But
Right.
so a lot of rushes. I think we can summarize this by saying what the Ravens games showed us, which really didn't show us anything different. They were just a better team,
Right.
than the other teams they face. But Jaden Daniels is making the offensive line look better than it is.
Absolutely.
Correct.
The offensive line is, no matter what you think, yes, they're, what are they, 4-2, first place. The offensive line is not very good, and they are saved by the fact that they have probably the second most mobile quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right.
I think this game confirmed a lot of the positives and some of the negatives that we are seeing with this team. Nothing I thought was a problem came out and being like, oh, that's a bigger problem than I thought. Like, the defense, the secondary is bad. We already knew it. We don't really have much of a pass rush. Already knew it. The offensive line, like you mentioned. Receivers, I think we have a better receiving core than we initially thought, but they probably need something outside Terry. Yeah.
It's not a top 10 receiving core. I don't even know if it's a top 15 receiving core.
No. They have one really good, legitimate receiver, and then they have some decent supporting guys.
I mean, if we be honest about where Terry McLaurin is ranked, I mean, I'd put him somewhere, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, maybe.
I might even go a little lower, but he's a capable 1,000-yard receiver, and there's about 20 of those in the league.
Correct.
So, that's where he is.
Right.
And that's fine.
And that's the one thing when you look at Cliff Kingsbury's play designs, especially this year, you almost really don't even need that element of your elite Justin Jefferson type of receivers, because the way his plays are designed, it's designed to bring a receiver into an open area with all the other misdirection crossing routes. And so it's not really a system to where you want a guy like a Stephon Diggs who wants the ball every time. That's not what this system is designed to do, as I can see. It's designed to get a particular receiver into a spot that's open. If he's not there, you go down to your second and third read, or just check it down to a dump off pass. So
yeah,
if you have a diva receiver that's in there, I want the ball every time, it's tough to run a scheme like that, in my opinion, anyway.
No, I think you're right. I think that I think he's making good use of what he has here. Obviously, I really think Eckler, he's got more receiving yards than rushing yards for himself at this point. I think that's a huge part of what Kingsbury wants to do, though. And, we were joking about the flea flicker earlier that they ran, the flea flicker screen, which we'd never seen before.
Yep.
But that's a great play, man. Like, you're just trying to get Austin Eckler in space, right? You can't give him a big volume still as a player. Like, he's not your 30 touches running back. But if you can get him in space 4 or 5 times, he's going to get you good yards every game.
Yep.
And that was just a fun way to do it. I think they need to do more of it. Not maybe that play, but, just creative stuff to hit.
Now, were you guys just as surprised as I was? I believe it was in the early part of the fourth quarter or late in the third. We had a 4th and 6 just past the 50-yard line, and decided to punt as opposed to going for it. I mean, they've been so good on 4th down all year.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, it's because the Ravens had been scoring repeatedly on them. You want to give them a short field on a 4th and 6? That's not a high percentage play.
It's not, but it has been a reliable play for them, even
not against
even
the
on
Ravens.
4th and long. It was against the Ravens. Well, they were 1 for 1 on 1 for 1 or 2 for 2 on 4th down.
Yeah, I get it, but to me it was a big risk.
I think 4th and 6, when you don't have your bigger power back, as like your run threats are kind of gone
right
at that point. And let's be honest, the Ravens had done a very good job of shutting down Jaden Daniels' scrambles. You know, like this was his lowest rushing total, I think, all season, probably by a lot. And yeah, like I think when you take away that element, their ability to go for these 4th downs is a lot, their odds are a lot lower just in general. Because even though he's a good passer and he's very accurate, you got to get a guy or two open for him at that point.
Yeah, I just don't think you wanted to give the Ravens a short field like that. They had
that too.
2 drives that were more than 90 yards for touchdowns.
Yeah, and that's why after those 2 drives like that, a 4th and 6, for as successful as they were, you knew that once Derrick Henry got the ball in his hands again, they were driving downfield again anyway. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? whether you pin them inside the 10 or not, it doesn't even matter at this point because nothing's been able to stop them. Go forward anyway, give it a shot. That was my mentality on it because they were not stopping Derrick Henry in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, our key on Derrick Henry, key to the game, didn't really work.
No.
No.
But so far, I don't think anyone in the league has been able to make that really work very well.
No, it's not just Washington. Well, I mean, but look, Washington has some bad defense. Okay.
Yes.
And if you want some basic numbers, since we're talking about it, they are ranked 23rd in the NFL in scoring points against.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback rating, they are ranked 31st in quarterback rating. Run defense, they are ranked 29th in terms of yards per attempt.
Not great.
They're just not a very good defense.
Yeah. All right. So, do we want to give out game balls for this thing? And
we have to give out game balls. We have to always give out game balls.
Okay. All right.
It's my favorite thing to do is give out game balls and losses. It's better when it's a blowout.
You haven't gotten to do it much this year.
I'm disappointed. I know. I'm disappointed.
All right. Let's do this then. All right. You know what? I'm going to go with the easy one on defense. Mikey Sanders still. You got your first interception. Congratulations. You get a game ball for that. You literally got a game ball for that because I'm sure he kept the ball. So good for you. On offense, I'm going to go to Terry, man. Those 2 touchdown catches, he doesn't have many games where he has multiple touchdown catches in his career. And, he played hard. I know the receiving yards aren't huge there, but he played hard. So.
I'll stick with the Sanders still too as well because there was nothing on defense that impressed me at all. And even though Sanders said that was kind of a tip ball, it was a gift right to him, but at least he caught it.
Yeah.
Made something out of it. I'll give him that. I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels and that touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to McLaurin is a prime example of what I keep talking about every week. He does it multiple times every game.
Mm-hmm.
He came back for it was a 3rd and goal. He came over, looked over it. I believe it was De'Ami Brown in the flat right there. You saw that the safety came or the corner came up. He looked that way, pulled the safety in just enough. Then he came right over, didn't look at McLaurin because he knew the route he was running, but looked right to the spot where he could throw it, and he threw it. McLaurin came to that spot, and the safety was already kind of backpedaling to get there. Don't tell me this guy cannot read what the defense is doing. Mm-hmm. He may not be perfect right now, but where he's at, he shouldn't be at this level at this point.
He made some bad reads, a few in this game.
You're right about that.
He threw one really bad ball this game.
He got lucky that went intercepted.
Yeah, that might have been his worst throw all season.
I mean, for me, doesn't Zay Flowers really deserve a game ball? Didn't he really take over the game? He ended the game in the first half. The game was over at halftime because of Zay Flowers.
He was shut out in the second half, though.
Yeah, Dave has a point.
I know, but Zay Flowers got to get a game ball. I mean, they got away from him, I think, intentionally.
Mm.
Well, I mean, he only played 30 minutes of football. Now, granted, the defense probably played a total of 10
He ended the
football.
game single-handedly.
I know.
Zay Flowers, I don't care what you guys say. Zay Flowers gets a game ball, and I'm going to make Benjamin St-Juste present it to him on bended knee. That's the game ball.
Ooh, on bended knee, that's even worse.
Nice.
Yes, on bended knee, because he really got taken advantage of. And, oh, geez, defense, I guess Sandersill, because nobody else deserves a game ball.
No.
So he gets the default ball.
Yeah. By the way, I totally forgot I was going to do a bit during the show, but I've been doing it while you guys are doing your game balls. I'm literally just sitting here on NFL.com's Rookie of the Week voting and re-voting for Jaden Daniels over and over and over again the whole time.
You are exactly what goes wrong with online voting.
Yeah, well, yes, of course. But why do they let you vote more than once? That's what I don't understand.
I've never voted for it ever, so I don't know.
But it makes no sense. One computer, one vote. That's what I say. I'm an American.
I don't think the federal government necessarily believes that is the problem, but that's another podcast.
They definitely don't with podcast voting for a rookie. Right. But yes, it would just be funny because Bears fans, obviously Caleb Williams had a great week and probably deserves it. They will lose their shit if Jaden Daniels gets it again somehow.
They already hate Jaden Daniels as it is, so
yeah,
isn't that dumb? I mean,
it is.
I mean, why is that so stupid?
Yes. Speaking of irrational hatred, we got to talk about the crazy thing that happened after the game. This story, I'm sure everyone's seen it. This video made the rounds on social media of this Ravens fan, Jack Kalis, walking up to two random Washington fans and sucker punching them. And, I guess he wanted to challenge them to a fight and just started throwing punches at them.
And these guys weren't doing anything, by the way. If
No,
you haven't seen the
one's
video,
literally
they're just
checking his phone as he gets punched.
They're standing on that sidewalk, and that was it. There was no mouthing off, no argument. The guy walked up to him. He's a coward and he's a loser.
Right.
And speaking as your online attorney here, you people, that is called aggravated assault and battery at a minimum. Right. Which is he's going to have 2 felonies.
Maybe drunk and disorderly.
They're not going to be able to prove drunk and disorderly probably because they haven't actually taken him into custody. So
Fair
they
enough.
Can't prove the alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's supposedly running from the law right now.
And drunk and disorderly is going to be a misdemeanor anyway. I mean, the really bad charge is aggravated assault and battery.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's running and he's trying to leave the state, which Alex is saying you've heard, I guess.
Yes.
Then you're talking about the problem with that is then you have to, once you find him, then the state of Maryland would have to pay to get him shipped back to Maryland.
Right.
It's whether or not they want to do it. They could be bullied into doing it because it's a very public event, I suppose.
Right.
But usually they don't do it.
A bunch of newspapers and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually they don't do that because they don't want to spend the money on it. But this is a public event. But I think that's the height of cowardice. And the guy was a lot bigger than these two guys also. It's like, what are you doing? They're just standing there. They didn't mouth off. They didn't say a word. It's just what represents everything that's wrong with, the bro culture that is, does that kind of thing.
Yes.
And of course, the whole irony is the guy, after he does it, guy walks away going flexing. I never lose. How you feeling now?
That image of him saying that was the clearest shot in the video of his face.
Right.
And so that image is no doubt. And I guess you guys told me before the show that a bunch of Washington fans who kind of outed him. They probably
hunted him down. Yep.
They probably did it on the basis of that image.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
Look. Here's the thing. Washington fans, a lot of us are very smart. We come from a city where a lot of people go to college. A lot of people have law enforcement careers from this area, maybe working for a certain agency with 3 letters in their name. They're very good at finding people. There's a lot of agencies
with 3 letters in their name, but continue.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Actually, I don't know if you're talking about the FBI or the CIA.
Or maybe the NSA. They could come from a plethora of agencies.
3-letter. There's a lot of 3-letter agencies with
who are also good at finding people.
Yes.
So, not a smart. Also, don't videotape your crimes. The Simpsons warned us of this in the 90s. Stop videotaping your crimes, you idiots.
But did it really take the Simpsons? Shouldn't that be abundantly obvious? Because the whole key to, I don't know if anybody ever found out.
You're giving way too much credit to this generation, man.
I don't know if anybody knows who the cameraman was, but it was clearly like a friend of his or somebody.
Right.
Clearly,
they're also trying to get him too, for egging him on. I don't know if there's a felony there, but.
I mean, oh geez. I mean, could you dream up a conspiracy to commit kind of thing? Maybe I could maybe dream up an accessory charge, to aggravated assault and battery. You could maybe dream that up, and at least enough to charge them. At least enough to mess their lives up, even if you don't get a conviction out of it.
Yeah, which probably not worth it in normal circumstances, but like you said, highly publicized event. That does play into these
and I guess you guys know it. I mean, I haven't done any online research. I guess you told me we know a little bit about the guy's background.
Yeah, shady guy with rich dad, so he gets away with a lot in his life.
Not anymore. Well, we'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And he was fired by his company too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once the video was sent to the company he works for, some insurance company.
Yep.
Bet he's not laughing now, is he?
That's a shame.
Oh, I feel for him. Sure.
I hope the guys are okay because the one guy I saw was just not cold.
Oh yeah, the first guy got KO'd in that first hit. That's not. Yeah.
Well, the worst part is that when he fell back, his head also hit the car going down.
So certainly you hope he's okay, didn't have a concussion or anything like that.
Well, all I know is the referees would not have called that a penalty if that was on the field, because we saw a very similar couple hits happen to Jaden Daniels throughout the game that were not flagged. If you paid attention at all to that part of the game, I found that a little odd that like that Hamilton hit where Hamilton hits him after he threw the ball. That wasn't flagged at all. That was strange. He was hit sliding and they didn't throw a flag, which was odd. But look, I'm not saying that's why the team lost. They were not going to win. But
I think it's safe to say there's, as there is in the NBA too, some selective enforcement of penalties against higher profile quarterbacks in particular.
Yes,
I think like the NBA tends to call a lot of fouls against committed against star players.
Absolutely.
And the NFL tends to call a lot of penalties on quarterbacks who get breathed on wrong,
right,
or touched with a pinky, and all of a sudden it's roughing. And
then they pocket it at other times. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The NFL's really gotten bad about it, though. It feels like in the last few years, especially like not so much this game in particular, but like obviously everyone talks about it with the Chiefs almost every week. It feels like you see that now.
You can't breathe on. He's one of those guys. You breathe on Mahomes, too hard, and you're going to get a penalty.
Yeah, and we all know what's going on. We all know
he's the cash cow for the NFL. You can't let him get hurt.
Right. It's even more than that. I think it's also the gambling stuff. I think is playing into it a lot.
Possible. That is possible.
So, anyway,
moral of the story is don't be a moron and attack people.
Right. Back to the moral. Stop videotaping your crimes and don't
be the other
crimes. That's another.
Yeah. The first lesson is don't randomly attack people, and then the second lesson is if you're going to randomly attack people, don't film yourself randomly attacking people.
Right. Don't create evidence.
It's like there was a murder case recently in Arizona or somewhere where two idiots who had stolen a car are filming themselves in the process of stealing the car, and then they see a guy riding a bike on the side of the road. And then they say, something along the lines of, should we hit him? Yeah, watch this. And they film themselves running over and killing the guy, and now they have murder charges, vehicular homicide.
I thought that was in Nevada.
I don't know, somewhere out west. I don't know. But point is, it's worse for them than it had to be,
right?
Because there's video.
Yes.
Let's be honest. As the
social media video thing has made a lot of just normal stupid people worse.
Yeah, really social media has really done a lot of harm to society, but that's another podcast.
That is another podcast, as we say on our social media.
The best thing I ever did is get off of social media, except for the Hog Side, and please listen and follow us.
On social media. On whatever social media platform you would like. All right, let's move forward. We got to talk about the Panthers game coming up. Hold on, I got to take a sip of water.
Drink.
Yes.
See, I will vamp, Alex, while you take a sip of water, because it sounds like you're about to choke yourself.
Tasty water.
You're drinking downtown DC water. Is it really tasty?
Well, it's very heavily filtered.
Okay, good. Because it would maybe be more dangerous than tasty, I would say.
Well, it could be worse. It could be the Schuylkill River water from up here, Delaware River water from up here.
I think mine comes from the Anacostia. I'll put those head to head any day. So
I'm not sure what I'm drinking. Mine's water out of the refrigerator, water dispenser. So I'm not sure where my water source comes from, but I'm in the suburbs, so it has to be better, right?
I mean, you've got a lot of oil refineries on the coast, man.
We do, I know. Yeah. Don't burst my bubble.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this game we got coming up versus the Panthers. Look, I think a lot of fans are seeing this as, maybe the easiest win we might have on the schedule if you were looking ahead. But if you watched Carolina, since they made the switch at quarterback, they're still not good, but they have a competent quarterback now, even though Andy Dalton is, I think, 110 years old. He's been around for way longer than you ever thought he would be, but he can still get it done, man. Like, if you watched any of the video of him versus the Falcons last week, like, he is very effective. He can throw in rhythm. He knows where his guys are going to be open. He's still a capable quarterback, and that does scare me a little.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young is terrible. Andy Dalton is not terrible. So
right.
in a general sense, yes. I mean, however, this is a game Washington should win.
Sure.
It really is. I mean, they are a better team than the Panthers. And so to me, if you want to go my keys to this game here, one, play a balanced offense. And what I mean by that is keep doing what you're doing. You don't need to do anything fancy. You can, keep a balanced run game, passing game, keep improving, keep doing what works. You don't need to do anything special. Just keep being you. Focus on Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
He's the one guy on their offense. If you want to throw Andy Dalton in there too, but Hubbard is actually having a pretty good year. Hubbard's averaging not great, but he's averaging more than 4.5 yards a carry.
80 yards a game.
Yeah, 80 yards a game. I think if you focus on limiting his impact, they're down to not many weapons. And so I think that's a key. And the next thing is limit mistakes. Washington's had been hurt by not too many turnovers, but they've been hurt by weird penalties at the wrong times.
Yes.
Like Dave, you mentioned Andrew Wiley. He's had a bunch of them, but he's not the only one. And by the way, we publish this on Fridays usually, called Hold On, where we go over the penalties, in the NFL. So check that out. But to me, those are the things. And if you do those three things, this is a game they really, really should win.
Yeah, look, I think they're they're obviously favored by 8 points right now.
Yeah, it was 7.5 as of Tuesday night. I don't know what it's at now.
Oh, okay. Well, still over a touchdown, they're favored.
Right.
And they're on paper, I think they're a better team. I just think it is a team where you don't want to sleep on them. You don't want to come in coasting, because I think they have enough where they can do some damage offensively against our bad defense. That's what worries me. Is I think the Washington defense just they don't have anybody who's going to scare you. So they could be taken advantage of. So if it becomes a shootout, you never know.
Well, I mean, and I guess now's the time to bring up injuries and whatnot. So we know.
Yeah, we got to talk about the big one.
The big one is that Jonathan Allen is out for the year. He's been placed on ice, a pectoral tear, I think, tearing a pectoral muscle.
Yeah, torn pectoral. Yep.
Yeah, and they also lost Javonte Jean-Baptiste. So they are both on IR, and Allen is done. And by the way, I have to think there's a better than average chance that Allen may have played his last down in Washington, period, at this point.
Yeah, just when you look at his contract numbers and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, this could be the end for him, which is a shame. You're talking about a guy who's had some good years here.
So the rest of the injury report real fast. Dorrance Armstrong, rib injury. He was DNP did not practice on Wednesday. The DNP is do not practice. Dorrance Armstrong, Zach Ertz just had a rest day. Tyler Owens. So the only two with real injuries are Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Owens. And then there's a slew of other ones. Nick Algretti, Noah Brown, Percy Butler, Clean Farrell, Frankie Louvi, Quan Martin, Terry McLaurin had a rest day. Deron Payne, Brian Robinson. A lot of groin injuries, 3 groin injuries, ankles. Deron Payne has a knee. Robinson has a knee. Forbes and McGee were on the injury report, but they had full practice. And for the Panthers, they had a slew of DNPs. Claudine Cherubis, linebacker. Jadeveon Clowney, shoulder. That's a big one. Troy Hill, corner. Chuba Hubbard had a rest day. Linebacker Josie Jewell, Deontay Johnson is another big one. Ankle. Tyler Mouton, and John Radigan, linebacker, and then Robinson, the defensive end. Those are all the DNPs. So Carolina has, I think, Jadeveon Clowney is probably the biggest one there. So there you go.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I think you brought up a good point with Hubbard. He really is probably their best player overall at this point. still a young running back too. So like he's he can still do some damage for a while in the league if they can build something around him. I don't know, man. Carolina is a weird team. The whole Bryce Young thing going so badly for them. Like I feel like we were there with Dwayne Haskins a few years ago
Yeah.
when you just realized it's not going to work out with a young quarterback. So you kind of feel
I
bad.
think Dwayne Haskins was much better than Bryce Young ever was. So
absolutely.
I think Dwayne Haskins could have
yes.
made it if he had been handled correctly, I think.
And O'Connell was starting to actually break that seal on what he could do, but Ron Rivera, in his infinite wisdom, decided to move on from him. But whatever, that's neither here nor there.
What are your thoughts about this game, Dave?
Well, I believe it was your point, Alex, right, about not being too creative and just sticking to what you've been doing, right?
We both kind of said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Steve was talking that more than me, even. Yeah.
But this staff from NFL Network just reaffirms that that's exactly what they need to do, because this offense has scored on 61.8% of all of their possessions thus far this year. And that ranks higher than the 2000 Rams, 2007 Colts, 2007, 2015 Patriots. So there's going against Carolina, there's no need to have to open up any special pages in the playbook, maybe institute another play or two that they haven't run yet, and just stick to a balanced offense and take advantage of openings down the field when they're presented, and just move the ball and just keep doing what they're doing. That's all they need to do. And they just control the ball a little bit to help keep the Carolina offense off the field, but I don't worry about them as much, even though our defense may make Dalton look like the 41-year-old Brady, but we'll see what happens. But either way, I think this game should be pretty easily won if they just stick to their normal game plan.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're all saying.
Yes.
You don't need to do anything special. And more importantly, I think you need to continue to perfect your normal game plan. Don't pull out all the stops. Keep doing what you're doing and get better at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And by the way, along with the scoring, they're the number one scoring offense in the NFL. They're tied for number one with the Buccaneers. 178 points first in the NFL. Ravens are second and third at 177. So, I mean, I can't remember the last time Washington's, probably 91, where the Washington was the number one scoring offense in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through 6 games at least.
I think you guys are right that they need to stick with what they're best at, because Carolina has let up 200 yards once, but then twice again in 2 games, 180, 198. The only team that couldn't run on them was the Raiders, and the Raiders are a mess. Ironically, the Raiders or I guess not ironically, that's the one team they beat. So yeah, I think you stick with your running game, even if Brian Robinson's not back. We don't really know if he's going to play yet. It seems like, you got to run it more. Like, you can't just be like, well, we don't have Robinson, let's not run it. No, use your other guys, pound the rock.
Now the Panthers, from a statistical standpoint, are slightly better against the run than they are the pass. They're not good against either. But they're terrible against the pass. I mean, opposing quarterback rating 109.1 on the season, which is only 29th as compared to Washington's 31st ranked 114.7. But from a run standpoint, they're kind of in the middle of the pack, 4.5 yards a carry, which is tied for 16th, exactly in the middle, literally exactly in the middle of the pack. That's not good. That's not terrible. Washington's terrible, 5 yards carry. But that doesn't mean Washington is taking advantage of every team except the Ravens and on the ground. Basically, they need to continue to do it. So I don't think you shy away from that. I think you just run the same game plan, and do your thing.
You could put up another close to 150 to 200 yards rushing this week if you're Washington.
And they need to continue to do that. And they need to find an answer. If Brian Robinson is out, if it's Jeremy McNichols. If it's someone else that they activate, Chris Rodriguez, I don't know, but I think they need to find an option, and because Brian Robinson is not a Pro Bowler, he had 2 great games, but overall,
But I don't think they want to change Austin Eckler's role. Like that is the one thing we saw with the Ravens that didn't evolve. Is
I'm not saying they should.
I'm not either, but they need to find somebody else then. Or if you don't trust the two guys you have as your third and fourth back, it means you probably need to go look at another back.
I mean, they also have Michael Wiley on the practice squad who showed some promise at times in the preseason, so that'd be another option for him. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's too early in the week as we're recording this on Wednesday to know whether Robinson's going to be back or not.
Right.
You know, he was a limited practice, so that's a sign. It means he's practicing some, so that's a positive sign.
And against his defense, I think a guy like Jerry McNichols, I think, is more than sufficeable to get them by in this game. I mean, he's an average to decent running back. I think he can be just fine. It's not like we're going against the Ravens again.
No.
Their defense.
The reason teams are getting these yards, it's not the backs, it's that lines are just shoving these guys out of the way.
Yeah.
Atlanta had one run for about 20 yards where it was just a scrum run the whole way, and it was just the Atlanta line owning Carolina.
Looks like a rugby game.
Yeah, exactly. Which, don't you guys love those? I still love those, like old school football runs like that. So
yeah,
they're fun to watch.
Yeah. You don't want to live off of them, but one or two a game is always interesting.
Works, man.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's the one thing our offensive line does do well is run block. They're athletic enough to do.
They set up good zone run holes,
yes.
and they are good at power. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are good at that.
Yeah. The passing, as we know, not so much, but they are good at the running.
Yeah. Not at all. Alternatively.
No. Any other thoughts on this game? Do we want to?
Well, I mean, defensively. So, I think the question would be, what kind of impact is the loss of Jonathan Allen going to be on the interior defense, particularly with a game with a running back like Chuba Hubbard, who's going to run up the middle? Honestly, good. I mean, Jonathan Allen's a big name in Washington. Captain, been around for a long time. He hadn't had much of an impact this year.
Nope.
I don't think it's going to be a huge loss, at least from maybe it is in the locker room. He's a solid guy. He argued with John Payne on the sidelines last year, but I mean, that was just a negative moment. Leadership, but from an on the field perspective, they've re-signed. We didn't say it, but they have made an effort to. Let me get back to it here.
Yeah,
to try to find some
guys from the practice squad. Yeah.
Yeah, they signed somebody named Jalen Holmes. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if you guys know Jalen Holmes. They signed Sheldon Day from the practice squad to the active roster, and then who we know a little bit about him, and then signed somebody named Carl Davis to the practice squad. All defensive linemen. Don't know anything about Carl Davis. Don't know anything about Jalen Holmes. But that's the moves they made. So they're making an effort to kind of replace him. So I think you've got either Phil Mathis or Johnny Newton. They're going to be the starter from here on out. One of those two guys.
Now, did you see that they worked out Kyle Fuller this week?
I did not see that.
Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Kendall Fuller's brother, former Bears star cornerback, who's now in his early 30s.
They had enough of Fullers on this team.
I mean, I think the shame is if you're going to do it, you should have done it last year when you could have had the brothers both playing together, and that could have been like a little fun thing just in a terrible season. Why not? Who cares?
It might not have helped the on the field performance.
Look, we're not trying to help. We're just trying to make it so fans have something fun to look at that point. The team was awful last year.
It was. But we're past that, though.
No, I know. But I do think they need to start looking at some corners, man. Some of these free agent corners, some of these trade options. We're going to talk about trades in a little bit.
So, yeah. I mean, we're running out of time here, too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out there about defensive line. We're not going to see anything different. And the secondary sucks. We're not going to see anything different. The difference is Andy Dalton's a mediocre quarterback, and they don't have a ton of great, wide receivers that are going to make him look terrible. So it might not look as bad this week, but don't be fooled.
I would say the key on defense this week is you got to use your speed rushers more. Dalton is not a mobile quarterback. He is going to drop back to a spot. This is not a week for power rushing. This is a week for maybe get Jamin Davis back in there, having him blitz up the middle, having him blitz up, just finding ways to get some speed in the rushing game.
You're that desperate, Jamin Davis? You're that desperate?
Who else we got that has any speed?
Nobody
to run. That's the problem. I'm That's the limit of my creativity for what we're going to do to Andy Dalton.
It's not that creative, but you're right in saying there's not a ton of options.
Well, see, think about it. You think of the matchup. The matchup is an advantage to Jamin Davis because Carolina's not very good. You get Jamin Davis in there. Say he gets 2 sacks and like 6 tackles. Throw him out there for a trade bait, and someone gives you a 3rd-round pick for him.
Oh,
there we go. We're good.
We love a 3rd-round pick trade, don't we?
Hey, listen, man. I'll take that for Jamin Davis in a heartbeat right now.
I would too. All right, let's do predictions, and then we got to talk about the trades that happened this week before we wrap up. So, Dave, I'll let you go first.
All right, I think Jaden Daniels is going to come into this game a little agitated and frustrated by a loss because he does not like to lose. I think he walks away with 3 touchdown passes and 1 touchdown run, and I think we win 42-21 in this game.
All right.
It's an absolute blowout in this game.
Yeah, I have on my game preview, which is 3/4 of the way done, the written game preview, I have a official projection of 38-17 in this game. I think it's going to not be a very competitive game. Washington wins instantly if I didn't say it.
Okay. You weren't getting blown out.
No.
All right. I think we're all around the same page. Washington being in that high 30s to 40s range. Again, I'm going to say a nice even 35, just your solid all touchdowns type performance on offense. And I'll give them 24. I'm still worried about this defense. So I'm going to say they can put up some points, but not close. So an 11-point win would be my guess.
All right. There's our official predictions.
So there's our official predictions. All right, let's talk about these trades that happened this week. We're getting to that point in the season. The bad teams are giving up. They're moving on from their higher priced guys. They're guys that they don't think they can build around. The Davante Adams thing, I feel like that trade has been rumored since week 1 that he was trying to get out of Vegas. Guess where he's going? Shocker. He's going to play with Aaron Rodgers in the New York Jets.
Wasn't that always going to happen somehow?
Oh, yeah. I think we all kind of knew it would end up that way. Weirdly, I think the Jets are just as bad as the Raiders, so I don't know if he actually helped himself at all, other than he has someone to throw to him now. Which is nice.
I mean, I think the Jets are a slightly better team than the Jets are 2-4, the Raiders are 2-4, but I don't know. I mean, the Jets I just get the sense the Jets have slightly more hope.
Well, the Jets easily have a playoff caliber defense. It's that offense, and Aaron Rodgers has not been very good at all in the most part, and that's what's actually killed this offense. He's actually has been some of the reasons why some of these offensive drives have stalled. Like that pass to Mike Williams that would have put them in field goal range this past game against Buffalo. He underthrew Mike Williams. If he didn't underthrow him, there's a chance that he catches it off to the sideline that gets out of bounds. They line up for a field goal, but he underthrew him. The Bills defender came over top for a great interception. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers, without saying so, is pretty much putting that blame on Mike Williams with it, which is just whatever.
Aaron Rodgers is a giant weirdo. And it just you can never kind of recreate the magic, especially with the 40. Isn't he 40?
41
now 41. I mean, it's just too old. You're not going to recreate what he did in Green Bay. It was never going to work.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just more or less to help free up Garrett Wilson. That's that's going to be his guy going forward. Everyone thinks that's going to be all Davante Adams now. I think it's more or less Garrett Wilson's still the guy, but when he's not there, Davante Adams is going to be there for him with Allen Lazard out of the slot. So that's how that's going to be in that offense. Garrett Wilson's still going to be the number 1 guy there.
Yeah. And by the way, I was wrong. Aaron Rodgers doesn't turn 40 till December 2nd or 41. He'll. So look, he and I are 2 months apart age-wise.
He's old by football standards. No matter if he's 40 or 41 or whatever, he's old.
Yeah, things just hurt when you hit 40, man. Like, I don't care if you're a pro athlete or not. You just wake up and things hurt.
I think Aaron Rodgers may do enough ayahuasca to dull the pain.
He can ignore the pain a little bit better than me, who doesn't do ayahuasca. You're maybe so. That team's a train wreck of personality, and this isn't going to help them. That's my real thought on that. The other trade though that happened, we didn't say what it was for, but these trades were third round picks basically and some change. But Amari Cooper leaving the Browns, that train wreck, and going to the Bills. Which now that trade makes a lot more sense to me and seems like a good move for Cooper.
Right.
Like, get the hell out of Cleveland.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great for the Bills. Good choice for the Browns. Nothing's happening with the Browns this year.
Right.
Might as well get some stuff back for a receiver that's a little older, but he can go march right into Buffalo and have a championship caliber contending team,
right.
With a ton of other weapons on there, who, by the way, need him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think Cooper has a pretty sizable contract overall. I'm quickly looking up. Looks like it was $23 million or no. Oh, so now it's all prorated and stuff. It's on Spotrac, so I'm not going to really. But he had a big contract at least, so
he's making a lot of money.
Yeah, making a lot of money. They got to clear some cap space because let's be honest, they're going to have to get rid of Deshaun Watson at some point, and that's going to screw up their caps for a while.
Yeah.
So good move. The funny part, I know Dave, you want to talk about it. These were both third round picks in the trades in the end. It was like a third and seventh, third and whatever.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing Washington got for the great Jahan Dotson.
And that's his. And then in the off season, I was thinking, actually, it was like right before week one, like the week before week one, right?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, you know what? I don't know what Washington's thinking. Why is Adam Peters doing this? That was a questionable move, because I have some Penn State bias in there. I get that, but I still thought he was a good receiver, and he would have. In his rookie year, he showed something, but then his drop rate went up, and then his confidence started waning in the last couple of years. Gets into Philly, he has like a total of 10 targets, and that's it for them. Even when both Devontae Smith and Alex Smith or AJ Smith were out for one game, he was the number one primary receiver. He had gotten 2 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards. Yeah. I'm just like, what is going on here? So now I'm looking at it. Well, you know what, Adam Peters? This is why you're the GM and not me, because clearly he got the better end of the deal and he got more for Dotson than he probably should have in actuality, in hindsight, because we're talking about Pro Bowl caliber receivers. I know I get it older, but at least Amari Cooper, he still has a few more years left.
There's big contracts involved, which plays well.
I think part of Jahan Dotson's problem is he probably has PTSD from having to play at Penn State and having to, watch people spy on children.
Yeah,
and all of that. And so I think that probably something triggered it with him
maybe
in the off season. And so now he just can't become his normal football self because he's so the trauma of being at Penn State is back.
I mean, look, I think all Washington fans are weirdly having a little bit of like joy in that Dotson's not playing well in Philly, obviously. Right. But he's 6 for 12. So 12 targets, 6 catches, 35 yards on the season so far. That is bad.
The people in our comment section are kind of enjoying the fact that Chase Young isn't doing well either.
Yeah. Look,
Montez
there's
Sweat
weird joy in
average.
watching these guys fail for some people. But like Dotson isn't that bad of a receiver. Whatever's going on in Philly is not just him. I don't think it is.
I think someone brought up a good point. Because there was I forget who broke down some film on Dotson, someone I think in Philly, and he noticed that he struggles mightily off the line with press. He just can't get a release at all, which is odd to me because I know college is a different game, faster, stronger players in the NFL. I get all that, but in college he was overmatched against even corners at Ohio State and everything. As in he was the overmatch against them. He was still able to get off the line and be able to shimmy away from press coverage. So he still went against NFL caliber corners and was still able to get past them and off the line. He was quick enough for that. But now it's like here in the NFL, it's like it doesn't matter what corner's on him. It could be a nickel corner, who wouldn't even be a number 3 corner in anybody's team, and he can't even get off of that coverage. So I have no idea what's going on with them. Something's not right.
It's PTSD. It's PTSD. So look, here's the thing. If you're a Washington fan, do not be upset that these wide receivers are not coming to DC. What you should be rooting for is for Washington to find a corner.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what you need to trade for.
That is the big question: is how aggressive should Washington be? I would say corner. Let's say also maybe a good defensive end. If they could add some pass rush, that would help this defense quite a lot.
Either of those would be good, but
right.
If I had to prioritize one or the other, I would prioritize a corner.
And I probably would too overall.
I don't know who it could be. I have no idea, but I haven't even looked into it at all. But that is what they need. Their secondary needs help.
So here's the question I'm going to ask, because I don't know who Adam Peters would want either. But the question is, what kind of asset commitment would you make to making a trade? Because it's probably not a free agent move that's going to make a difference. It's going to be a trade at this point. What's your limit?
It depends on who you're talking about, though. That's
myself. There are two names out there that I would go after, even throwing a second and some other picks for.
That's why I love you, Dave. You always have the names in mind.
Is J.C. Horn, not J.C. then Horn, out of Carolina, who's his second year, and he's developing into a really, really good man coverage corner. And also, who was it? Denzel Ward, right?
I was about to say Denzel Ward, actually.
Denzel Ward. Yeah. And he's been in the league for 4 years, I think now. He's still young, and he's a real good, capable corner. These guys are guys you make trades for now to help this year, and you keep long-term going forward because they're young enough and they're still developing and they're good enough. They're the guys, just like people want these wide receivers, like either Cooper or Devontae Adams. No, if you go after a wide receiver, you go after someone like T. Higgins, because he's a guy you can keep long-term. They're the kind of aggressive moves I would want to make.
Yeah, but Denzel Ward, in all seriousness, who I was thinking of too, mainly because we just saw him, probably. But I mean, the guy's a 3-time Pro Bowler. If the Browns are really cleaning house, throwing an offer at him, what, 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, see if they bite. That would be worth a shot, because he would be instantly become your number 1 corner.
I mean, obviously, if anything like a first rounder is off the table, I think the way this team wants to build, though, I don't think they're going to go 2nd round pick on anything.
Probably not.
I think 3rd round maybe, but more than likely Adam Peters is he'll offer you like a 4th, a 5th for a guy. I
don't know. I mean, I don't know if he will try to make any trade.
I could see something like a 3rd next year and a conditional 3rd the year after, to where that 3rd could wind up becoming a 2nd for performance. Stuff like that. So.
Again, it depends on who we're talking about. The names you mentioned. Right. I just pulled up guys who might be on the trading block blog thing. The one corner they mentioned is from Cleveland, Greg Newsome, as an option. 24 years old, so young guy. They also mentioned an older guy, a guy in their 30s. I'm with you. I don't think they should bother with anyone who's like a 28, 29, 30-year-old. You gotta have a 3 or 4 year plan window with whoever you're picking or trading for at this point. If you're going to give up a draft pick, especially, it's got to be a guy who's going to be here the duration of that draft pick. So getting a guy in their early 20s makes a lot of sense. I could see a 3rd conditional, something after that too. That would make some sense. But I don't think they're going for a wide receiver. That's for sure, right?
No, I don't think so.
No, that was everyone's thing early on, but not anymore. And the line, no one's going to trade a lineman. That doesn't happen.
That's why they can't move that 1st round pick anyway. They would need that for offensive line.
Yeah. Well, if they trade for corner, they might go corner in the 1st round.
Depending upon where they draft, they could, yeah.
Oh, and don't trade for Hassan Reddick. I've seen too many people posting that one. I know, Steve. We've got to wrap up.
You continue to babble.
Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. I will stop babbling, and we will end the show. And we will see you all next week. Hopefully, after a nice, butt kicking, and not on the street.
Not getting our butt kicked.
Yes.
Right.
Just to be clear.
And Don't beat up any Panthers fans. Don't.
Please
Like,
don't.
we're classier than
Yes,
Baltimore.
Barely.
Don't do it. Yes. Bye.
Later.